One of my students came up to me one time and she said, "Why do you do what you do?" And I said, "This is what God has called me to do." And she said, "Well, I want to be like you. I want to do what you do." And I said, "Oh, okay. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question." I said, "How much crying do you want to do?"
You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by book number 2 from Dom Brightmon, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. It is the field guide to help unleash the elite performer that is inside of you. Cop it today on Amazon.com or heading over to DomBrightmon.com and snag it in book, ebook, and audio book, so that way you can take it on the go and get yourself on the go to your northbound success. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of one of my favorite websites on the good old internet itself, known as podmatch.com, the wonderful site where podcast guests get to connect with podcast hosts, and if they're cool, they're in. And today's guest is cooler than two cucumbers indeed, because she's a fellow child of the king, y'all. That's right indeed, a fellow child of the king. That's right indeed. And not only is she fit the wonderful minimum qualification of being on a show by being a published author, she's an award-winning author, y'all. That's right indeed, an award-winning author who is a musician, worship leader, keynote speaker, as well as an award-winning radio host. So she just likes racking up all the gold medals indeed. So let's give it up for Ms. DRP, the wonderful, delightful, radiant, and powerful herself, the Donna Renay Patrick. How you doing today, Donna?
I am well, Dom. How are you?
Doing good in all the neighborhoods.
Good.
That's right
That's
indeed.
what we
That's
like to
right.
hear.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. Especially if they still got their ears.
Absolutely. For sure.
That's right. Whether they're in the cornfield or on someone's head.
Come on now. Yes, sir.
That's right indeed. But hey, it ain't just about corn cobs and heads. It's about the delightful daughter herself. So my goodness, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 70 days, 0.5 years long. They're probably only covered, 7 minutes. So my filling in listeners of who is the wonderful Donna herself, such as your first time here on Going North.
You know what, Dom? I stand on a lot of shoulders. I want to make it clear, first of all, that I didn't get here by myself. I grew up in Decatur, Illinois. So I'm a snow baby from birth. So I get the Maryland weather. Y'all get some winter up there for sure. So in Illinois, I grew up a snow baby. I grew up in the church. I got my start in life. My mom saw to it that my sisters and I developed a relationship with the Lord. She saw to that, whether we wanted to or not. You know how it is when you're at church every night. Mama had us in church for something. But I looking back on it, Dom, and it's the older that I get, when I reflect back on where I came from, and Mom keeping us in church all the time, there was a method to that madness. Not only did she want us to develop a relationship with the Lord, but it taught us how to serve. It taught us how to love people. It taught us to work together. It taught us compassion. So much came out of that. And Dom, so many people poured into me over the years, from a child on up into adulthood. So many people poured into me and helped me to develop into the person that I am right now. And so I stand on so many shoulders, Dom, and I did not get here by myself.
So I'm talking about indeed. So I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, so being raised in the church. So when did the Christian faith really become real for you? Because the thing is, with growing up in church, it's like sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I think I'm Christian by association, but now it's a real relationship. So when did it really become real for you?
Dom, that is such a great question. Like I said, I grew up in the church, and I thought that joining church was it. Now, not that, we weren't taught about salvation. We were taught about that. I did join church. I did get baptized. But, to answer your question, Dom, it didn't really become real for me until I left home going to college. And when I got to college, something happened. I got a great foundation where I came from. But when I went off to college, when I came to Texas, I was exposed to so many great preachers and teachers of the word, and different churches and different ways of doing things. Different ways of doing things. For 18 years, I knew one church, well, maybe a couple of churches, but one way of doing things. And when I went off to college, I really learned what it meant to be saved. I really learned what walking by faith meant when I went off to college, because I was exposed to so much different kinds of teaching in the church. I don't mean different religious beliefs so much. I'm talking about different ways that churches do things. And as my mother would say, how the other fella lives. I learned that when I left home. And so I was exposed to a greater level of teaching. And I got a great foundation where I came from. When I came to Texas, I just built on top of that foundation. I didn't rip it up. I just built on top of it. And so that's really when my salvation experience got real for me. And of course, I'm away from home. Mom and dad are not in the next room or down the street. I could always call them, but I'm like 900 miles away from home. So all that home training that I got had to kick in at that point. And so when I went off to college, that's when my salvation experience really came home for me and what it really meant to walk by faith. Excellent question, too. Great question.
Oh, wow, thank you indeed. Wow, thank you indeed. And the beautiful thing is that we really did build upon it because if I'm not mistaken, you eventually got your master's in Christian education on top of that, right?
I did. I had been in worship. I still am in worship ministry, but I wanted more. I wanted another level. I wanted another level. And so I didn't get my master's in worship ministry because I had a pretty good nucleus of that, but I wanted to expand a little bit. I wanted to stretch out a little bit. And so that's why I went back and I really wanted to teach. That's what I really wanted to do. So getting a master's in Christian education helped me go deeper into the word. So when I teach, not only when I study it, but when I teach it, I have another frame of reference to pull from when I got that other degree. So it served me well.
So what's the teacher looking like for you now then?
You know what? Most of the teaching has been in a church setting, Bible study. I've taught in conventions, I've taught in conferences across the country. I've spoken on many, many podcasts around the world. So it has served me in those areas. I have not gone into the classroom, and that's all by God's design. It's all by God's design. Most of my teaching has been in various venues on a conference or a convention level. So it's good. It's good. Teaching is my gift. Teaching is one of my spiritual gifts. And I ran from that for a long time. I ran from it for a long time because I didn't want to teach. I wanted to play. That's all I cared about. I cared about music ministry. I did not want to teach, let alone teach the word of God. But somebody said, if you want God to laugh, tell him your plans. So, but teaching is good. I love what I do. I love what I do. And people have told me I'm good at it, and I help people to understand it. I have a way to break it down for people to really understand it and apply it to their lives, which is most important. That's most important. It's one thing to hear the teaching. It's something else to actually internalize it and pattern your life behind it. So I've been very blessed, Dom.
Hooray for being blessed indeed. So my goodness, so running away from the teacher. So was it a full Jonah experience? Did a whale come out of the ground and
Well,
be
you
like, "You're
know
about
what?
to taste some sand"?
Well, you know what? I didn't, it wasn't completely a Jonah experience. Jonah tried to go clear to another country. So I didn't do that quite, but I went around the corner. It didn't take a boat ride. It didn't take a boat ride. I didn't go on a cruise like Jonah did. But but I went around the corner. But teaching opportunities kept coming to me. God kept bringing this stuff to me. I didn't go after it. He just kept bringing it to me. So I finally said, okay. And so, but yeah, I love what I do. I love what I do. Dom, it's a great thing to come into who you were created to be. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And once you know that, you can't, doing anything different just doesn't hit right. It just doesn't. And until you get back to doing what you've been called to do. And so when I found out, after searching the Word of God, when I found out that teaching is a spiritual gift, well, then that kind of clinched it for me. This is something God gave me to do. It's part of my purpose, and that's it.
Oh, there you go. She good, y'all. That's right indeed. She good with all the O's out of a Cheerios box. She's good.
I like Cheerios. Honey nuts specifically.
Best flavor, to be honest.
Absolutely.
So my goodness, so since the opportunities to teach kept on popping up towards you, what would you consider one of your biggest lessons learned from one of your students?
Ooh, let me ponder that for a minute. You know what? I was teaching in a convention. One of my students came up to me one time and she said, "Why do you do what you do?" And I said, "This is what God has called me to do." And she said, "Well, I want to be like you. I want to do what you do." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you a question." I said, "How much crying do you want to do?"
Ouch.
And she looked at me really strange. I said, I'm honored. It is a compliment that you want to do what I do. But I think it's important that you understand that there's more. What you see now, I'm all right now. But before, there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of questions because I didn't understand what God was doing with me. I didn't get it. But what I learned from her, Dom, in that conversation was that it really takes some self-reflection to know who you are and to know what God has called you to do. And she didn't go there. But that's what I got from that conversation. That's what I came away with in that conversation. She came to me after class one day, and I was out there for 3 or 4 days. And she came to me after class and we had this conversation. But I came away with the understanding that when you reflect, it's going to take some looking back. I went through that and I didn't understand, but now I do. I get it now. So I got that from her. And I'm not sure if that even answers your question. But that's what comes to mind right now. Had you asked me this the other day, my answer might be different. But that's what I came away with. And I hope that answers your question. And now you're going to make me start thinking about that. Other students I've had, you're going to make me start thinking about what other students I've learned from. because I learned something from all of them. But I hope that answers your question, at least for purposes of this podcast.
Oh, it answered indeed, because hey, it's an important piece of really leadership from all the stuff that you've been doing for all this time. Because hey, so eventually, if you're good at what you do, folks are going to ask you, "Hey, so how the heck do I do what you do?" And the
Absolutely.
answers can vary.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. They can. They really can. Answers that is $1 million question. It really is. And Dom, you know how it is when you ask one person a question, you might get 10. You ask 10 different people the same question, you may get 10 different answers. And that's not necessarily something, So you're gonna make me start thinking. You've opened up the floodgates now on that question, because I've got to reflect on, you know, other students I've learned from, and I have. There have been others. Yeah.
Sounds like a new book is cooking.
You know, it may be. I have notes. I have notes galore. I have notes written. I have notes. Most of them are in my phone, because sometimes when inspiration comes, I pick up my phone and I've got to chronicle it somewhere. I've got to record it somewhere. So I have so many notes in my phone. So that may be part of the next book. That's possible. That's very possible.
Sounds good. The neighborhood indeed. So speaking of books, what's led you to become a writer indeed, and let alone have 4 books out there and counting?
Oh, listen, another great question, Dom. Another great question. I will tell you how my first 2 books came to be. The church where I was on staff at the time, this was probably back in 2009 or 10, somewhere back there. Praise and worship, both of them are passions of mine. I love teaching on it. I love being a worship leader. I love developing praise teams. I love everything. I love all of it. So back around 2009 or 10, I began writing devotionals every week and distributing them via email marketing. When I had so many of them, and my current pastor at the time was on my email list, so he was getting them every week. And so eventually he came to me, he said, "Why don't you put all those in a book?" He said, "You've already got the material. All you would have to do was just pull it together in some organized fashion." And Dom, when he said that, I didn't think too much about it. I really didn't. I didn't think too much about it. But about a year went by. And I said, why don't I? And so I began thinking about it, and I started looking for publishers. And so, I had so many, Dom, I had been sending out these devotionals every week, and they were short, just short. I would send it. I'd come home from work every Thursday night and sit down in my home office and crank out these devotionals to go out on Friday morning. And I like to send them early, like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So as soon as you open up your email, it's there. And so about a year went by. I took what my pastor said seriously. And after a year, and so I started looking for publishers, and I had to decide whether I wanted to self-publish or traditional publish. So I made that decision, and, I found a publisher, and before I knew it, I'm holding a book in my hand with my name on it, with original devotionals that I used to send out every Friday morning through email marketing. I said, "God, look at you. Look at you." But here's what God did, Dom. Here's what God did. When the first book came out, I'm still writing these devotionals. I'm still writing. God kept giving me stuff to write. He kept giving me stuff to write. And I'm still cranking out these devotionals every Friday. Well, the first book has come out. Well, by now, I've gotten enough more devotionals for a second book. And so the second book was bigger than the first one. There were a few more chapters in the second book than the first one. Well, in the second book, how I differentiated them was that in the second one, I put questions for personal reflection after each chapter. So that's how I took it to another level, the second book. And it was on praise and worship as well. And a lot of me came out in both of them because I'm sharing my own experiences as well as, helping you to go deeper in praise and worship and helping you understand that it's so much more than great music. So that was the goal all along, to help people know that praise and worship, they're not just for Sunday morning. They're everyday pursuits. And so that was the whole goal of both books. And then sometime later, I start getting invitations to co-author books. And so I've co-authored 4. One of them is called The Perfect 7, that I co-wrote with 6 other amazing, amazing authors. And that is a devotional about stewardship. And, a lot of times in stewardship, all we think about is money and tithing, giving. That's all we think stewardship is. But stewardship is also time. It's your talent. How are you using your relationships? How are you taking care of your temple? So there were 7 key areas of stewardship in that one. And then there's another one. It's a book of testimonials. It's actually an anthology. It's actually an anthology of different people's testimonies, how God brought them through something. And mine is in there where I talk about the time we lost my sister. We lost my sister to a criminal act. And how do we get through that as a family? So that's one. And then the third one was for women in the workplace, called Be Refreshed. And it was a book for women in the workplace. How do they really find, refreshment? How do they find their place? How do they really get, they get so caught up in their positions, but how do they really get out of that a little bit and just really refresh themselves? And then the other one is called Stories of Roaring Faith, where, again, it's a book of testimonies of people who came through things. And then the last one just came out the end of 2021, called No More Unclaimed Promises, where there's so many promises in God's word that we forget about. We're going through something, we don't understand what's going on. Well, God has promised prosperity. God has promised us good success when we follow him. He's promised us that. He promised us that he'd never leave us. He'd never forsake us. So the word of God is full of promises that we sometimes forget. And so one of the books I co-authored is called No More Unclaimed Promises. So that's kind of how all that happened.
There you go. It's right indeed. It's right indeed. The good stuff that's happening. It's right indeed. No more unclaimed promises. Gotta love the name of that title.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. It's good. You would enjoy it. You would enjoy it.
Yes, indeed. And here you got plans for another book where you put in your life story all together for folks to read and devour and share with others.
Yeah, lessons I've learned, lessons in life that I've learned. Be they in the spirit realm, be they in the secular realm, it doesn't matter. Lessons are lessons, and so it'll be good. I think Dom, I really think it's going to be the best one I've written. I really do, simply because I'm sharing my story. I'm sharing my story, where I've come from, what I've learned, how I've grown, how I've changed, how God has matured me, even through some very dark, difficult times. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. So speaking of lessons, what would you consider one of your biggest life setbacks that actually sets you up for success?
You know what? Financial. I can answer that real quick. God taught me some very hard but much needed lessons about money, because when I thought I needed money, money was really never my issue. Money was not the problem. My mindset toward money was the problem. That was it. That was my mindset was jacked up about money. And when God showed me that I'm too dependent on my bank account, I'm too dependent on outside forces, mainly money, God had to show me that. And I learned that, Dom, I learned that through loss, through losing badly financially. And it was never about the money. It was about how I was thinking about money. And so God had to teach me some very hard lessons about that, because God had to show me, you don't depend on your bank account. You depend on me. God was showing me that. And it took a lot of loss and, losing financially. It took a lot of that. It took a lot of that for me to get it, for me to learn. God is my source, not my bank account, not my resume, not my work experience, not my ministry experience. None of that can be my source. God said, I am your source alone. And I had to learn that. That was a hard lesson for me. That was hard because I grew up the mindset that I was carrying for so many years. I grew up with it. It was part of my DNA. And so I brought it into my adult life. And I learned some hard lessons because I had to unlearn some things. We learn things, but we have to unlearn some things as well. And that's what I had to do. That's what I had to do. And it was hard. It was difficult. It was very difficult to learn those lessons, but I learned them.
There you go. That's right indeed. Instead of folks saying money don't grow on trees, forget about that. God has all the trees.
He made the trees.
Exactly.
He made the trees. I like that passage where it's in Psalms. It says, the cattle on 1,000 hills belongs to him. Well, he doesn't just own the cattle. He owns the hill the cattle is on. That's how big he is. So he had to bring all that back to my remembrance. And I'm glad he did. I'm grateful now for those dark times. I'm grateful for them now because I learned so much about God and about myself. So hard times will teach you who you are as well as who God is, for sure.
Woo-hoo. That's right indeed. She bringing that hot fire indeed, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. If you want to know who God really is, you guys got to go through those hard times indeed. And you'll discover yourself in the process too. That's right indeed.
Yes, sir. Yes, I learned so much about myself as well as about him. And then sometimes God has to clean out some stuff. Sometimes God has to purge, clean out things you can't take with you into your next. Sometimes God has to help you get rid of some stuff that you really don't need, that you really can't take with you. And that's going to make you a better person. Because stuff we don't need, stuff weighs you down. We don't realize it all the time, but that's exactly what's going on. It weighs you down. And you can't go where God has for you to go carrying all that stuff. And that was mine. That was my deal. That was my deal. God had to help me let go of some stuff. And I did. And I'm glad about it.
So I'm talking about indeed. So since you've been on so many interviews as a guest on these podcasts, is there a question you wish folks would ask you more often?
Yeah. They can ask me, Donna, what are you passionate about besides praise and worship? I wish more people would ask me what else I do besides just worship ministry.
So is it hiking?
Well. Well, no, it's not hiking. You're gonna laugh when I tell you to, and you'll never guess what it is. You'll never guess. I know you won't.
Well, bull riding.
No, close maybe, but no. You get one more guess. It's not hiking. It's not bull riding. You get one more.
Underwater basket weaving.
Underwater, okay. Basket weaving and NASCAR.
Oh, there you go.
NASCAR. I love fast cars, very fast cars. And I got a gift one time, and I've been hooked ever since. Someone I used to work with gave me gifted me a NASCAR experience. And I've been hooked ever since on NASCAR. And in the NASCAR experience, they let everyday people, everyday folks come out there, suit up, give them a helmet, outfitted, everything with communication devices, put me in a car, and I ran around the track. I wasn't riding, I was driving a car. I'd never rode before, never driven before, never driven a stick shift before either. And so it was too cool, Dom. It was too cool. It was too much fun. It was too much fun. And so I love NASCAR. I love driving those cars. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a rush for me. It's great. It's great. It's a rush. I love it. I love it. I also like classic Westerns. Love the classic Westerns. I've never met a Western I didn't like. And I don't know where that came from, except my dad. I don't know. When I was little, on Monday nights, Gunsmoke came on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, I guess it was, something like that. But everything had to stop in the house because Daddy had to watch Gunsmoke. And when we got mad, me and my sisters got mad every Monday night. Every Monday night, because we couldn't watch what we wanted to watch because Daddy had to watch Gunsmoke. And guess who's watching it now?
It's you.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. I love Gunsmoke now. And so every chance I get, I'm looking at Festus and Miss Kitty and all them, so yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I'm just weird like that.
Man, that ain't weird. That's called having hobbies and interests. That's what that is.
Absolutely. And I love it. I love classic Westerns. I love them. I love them.
Well, now we know what your book cover is going to be. It's you with the wonderful cowgirl hat with the gun tooting in front of a NASCAR. That's what I'm talking about. That's right, indeed. Life lessons.
I know, right? I know, right? I can see that. I can see that. So they buy the book just to wonder who this girl is in the cowboy hat, and in the cowboy hat and the toy gun and sitting in front of a NASCAR vehicle, or wait a minute, sitting in a NASCAR vehicle, tipping my hat, So thank you for the idea.
There you go. That's right, indeed. One of the chapters could be riding dirty. Let me stop.
Oh my God! See, starting the wheels are turn now on my book cover. Yeah. So when you say, Dom, when the book comes out, and you get your autographed copy, and don't say nothing. If the NASCAR vehicle and the cowboy hat and so don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. And the title is Getting Comfortable. And see, you're going to make me change the title. Getting Comfortable with the Uncomfortable. Well, not necessarily, because I was real uncomfortable in that NASCAR vehicle. Talk about uncomfortable, but was it fun? And did I get comfortable real quick? Oh, it was great. It was great. So, well, thank you for giving me an idea for my next book cover, Dom.
Woohoo! That's right, indeed. That'll manifest. That's right, indeed. And I'll be like, yeah, it happened here first.
You're funny. See, you heard it first. You heard it. DomBrightmon. You heard it first.
That's right, indeed. With all the Renay relays. That's right.
The Renay relays. You know what, Dom? People who call me by my full name have known me a long time. I mean, 25, 30 years or better, or grew up together, whatever. People who call me Donna Renay have known me a long time. So you didn't just call me Donna Renay, but you called me Renay, which is what I grew up with. I didn't grow up on Donna. I grew up with my middle name. So people that I grew up with don't call me Donna. They don't call me Donna. I didn't start going by Donna until I came out of college and went to work. And I'm filling out job applications, it was Donna. So a lot of people who know me as Renee don't know who Donna is. They don't know who Donna is because they've always known me as Renee. So, yeah. So you just went there. The Renee Relays. Okay. That's original, Dom.
Yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. One of the chapters racing through life.
See? And aren't we all racing through life? Some of us are going faster than others, and some of us arrive at our destinations quicker than others, and some of us aren't really racing, but we're moving. And I think it's more important to keep moving than necessarily how quickly you go. Just keep moving. If it's not happening yet, if it's not happening as quickly as you like, just chill, but keep moving. Wow, that was the Holy Ghost. That's who that was.
Yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. Getting all the gems out of Donna tonight, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Well, fun question for you. So, if one of your fabulous books, the wonderful No More Unclaimed Promises, if that book were a food, what would it be and why?
Let's see. No More Unclaimed Promises. If it were food. Ooh-wee. Oh gosh, Dom, that's a, I don't know. Let's see. Let me start naming some stuff. No More Unclaimed Promises. I'm just throwing out some stuff. Big meal or small meal?
It's all up to you.
Oh, you know what? I love grilled salmon. I think if that book were a food, it would be grilled salmon, because if it's cooked properly, it's really good. Meaning, if you accept the promises, learn what God's promises are and accept them, you're going to be eating good. You're going to eat good. That's the best. That is an interesting question. That is such an interesting question. I didn't see that one coming, Dom. I didn't see that coming. I'm going to say grilled salmon, because cooked properly, you eating good. And when you accept those, when you start claiming those promises that before went unclaimed, you're still going to be hungry. Something's still going to be missing. So I think that's my best answer for that. Wow.
That's a darn good one.
I didn't see that coming. You threw that one from way back. That you threw that one over the fence, Dom. You threw that one over the fence. That ball came from out of nowhere. Wow. And it hit me right here.
You caught it. You good.
I tried to catch it. I had my mitt up. Waiting for it.
Oh, don't worry. You caught it right in the mitt. That's right indeed. Right in the mitt. That's right indeed. Not the politician, but right in the mitt.
Okay. I'm glad I did all right then. I did okay.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Besides, grilled salmon's good for you. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. All that good old fish oil. Get it in you. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. So if you're to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but you're still in the current year, What advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, another great question. Oh, that's another great question. You know, I'm 25 in the current year.
Yeah, you're
I
basically a
would,
Gen Zer.
Dom, I would tell myself, don't be afraid to go for it. Never settle. Never be afraid to take that leap. Go for it. Don't get comfortable, because as soon as you do, you're going to get complacent and you're going to think, this is all there is. This is all I'll ever do. This is all I'll ever be. And that's not true. That's what I would tell my 25-year-old self. If I woke up in the morning and I'm 25 again, I certainly would. Don't be afraid to go for it. Don't get comfortable, because comfort will lead to complacency, and complacency will rob you. And I would also say to my 25-year-old self, don't compare yourself to anybody else. Your journey is your own. Your path is your path. You're not on somebody else's path. Walk your own path. Don't worry about it if it looks like somebody else is progressing faster than you, further than you. No, don't focus on that. Don't let comparison get to you. Don't let comparison get out of your head. Don't let comparison get in your head, because if you do, you're going to start feeling badly about you if you compare yourself to somebody else. So that's what I would tell my 25-year-old self. I would. See, though that's a sneak peek into my next book, Dom. Just so you know, that's a sneak peek into my next book. Don't compare yourself. Don't do that.
Oh, so that means we got some big stuff to look forward to in our upcoming book, indeed, folks. That's right,
Yep.
indeed. That's right, indeed. Play that Connect 4, y'all. Just go for it. That's right, indeed. Make Tiger Woods proud. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Get on that course. That's right, indeed.
You
That's right,
ask the
indeed.
best questions, Dom. You really do. You ask the best
Thank you.
questions. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's right, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not your average bear podcast host.
No, it isn't. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing, though. You're not an average kind of guy. I can tell that. I can see that.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Because if folks aren't careful, they'll end up in the woods with a bear with yoga pants if they go to the wrong area. That's right, indeed.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
bear with the yoga pants and doing cocaine.
Well, not the cocaine. He
Not
don't
the
do that.
cocaine. Okay.
He's just the yogi bear. He does yoga.
Yogi. Oh, I remember Yogi. I also remember Boo Boo. I remember. And the park ranger. He and Yogi were great friends until Yogi got in trouble. Yeah. But the ranger always got him out of it. So yeah. You brought back a memory, Dom. I remember. Part of me never grew up. So I still like Yogi Bear. I still like Yogi and Bugs and Yosemite Sam and all them.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, folks are going to remember you and all the stuff that you do. And for those who need to keep in contact with you, especially when you launch that next book, what's the best way for folks to keep in contact with you, Donna?
You know, the best way is probably through social media. I'm on Facebook as Donna Renay Patrick, MA. I'm on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn under the same handle, Donna Renay Patrick, MA. And you can email me. You can go to my website, DonnaRenayPatrick.com, to learn more. Send me a message if you choose. Renay is spelled, by the way, Renay is spelled Renay. A lot of people spell it N-E, but mom said A-Y, so it is what it is. So DonnaRenayPatrick.com. My books are on my website. Information, my bio is there. information about who I am and what I do. It's on my website. So I would love for you to go there and order your copy of It's in Your Praise, or At All Times, or No More Unclaimed Promises, or The Perfect Seven. They're all on my website. You're welcome to go there. I would love to talk to you. Leave me a message, and I will certainly leave me an email. You can send me an email also, if you choose to, at Donna Renay Patrick at gmail.com. Send me a question, send me a message, send me a shout out. Social media, however you choose to do it, I'm there.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Going to put links to all of Donna's goodness in the show notes indeed. So head over to that wonderful DonnaRenayPatrick.com. That's right indeed. Check out all of her wonderful wares. Cop some copies of her magical books and share with your friends, family, cat, dog, penguin. Heck, even share with the camel with the penguin on top of it that has a Bible in its hand. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Especially
I
so that way
love
that
it.
penguin.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm so glad we scheduled this on a Monday, because I needed this tonight. I needed the laughter. I needed the lively. I needed that. I needed the atmosphere tonight. So thank you. Thank you. I'm glad we scheduled this on a Monday.
So my goodness, so before we close up shop, any parting words for the folks around the globe?
You know what, Dom? I would just say, you keep moving. If you're out there, if you're listening to us right now, keep moving. Maybe you're one of those people who are racing through life and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere. You feel like you're racing in place. Just keep moving. You're going to reach your destination. God will see to it if you let him. You'll get to your destination. Just keep moving. The key is keep moving. Keep walking in your purpose. Keep walking on the path that God has for you. You can't walk somebody else's path. Walk your own and be committed to yourself. Whatever promises you make to yourself, keep them. I'm going to say it again, Dom, but somebody missed it. Whatever promises you make to yourself, keep them. Keep the promises you make to yourself.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.